Welcome back to Simplexity Analytics seasonal report for June of 2024. This month we have sugar and crude oil as the most bullish month, and we don't have any as the most bearish month. Now, I've mentioned this before, but the energy markets do not correlate well into heat maps. So we will not have a heat map for crude oil. We will have one for sugar, and we will have one for gold. We're going to do gold this month, even though this month is only the second most bearish, just because we want to give a few different markets into this video. And as always, we are going to do the S&P E-minis for June as well. First up, we'll have a look at the sugar market and the seasonal chart for it. We mentioned June being the number one bullish month of the year. 61% of Junes have finished higher than they have opened, and it has made just over $13,000 for the Junes. And on the seasonal indicator, we see how June has looked like it starts off strong and then it finishes kind of sideways. We see that to be the case in each of these instances here on the indicator. On the price chart itself, we see that a couple years ago, it started off strong, then dipped. A few years ago, it went flat and then dipped towards the end. Last year, it had a modest rally and then was flat. So we've kind of had every instance possible in the last 3 years, and this year we will see what we can expect via the heat map. Sugar's heat map for June shows a lot of what was indicated by the seasonal indicator, and that is that the first week of the month is the strongest. And we see that because there's a lot of bright greens, both vertically and horizontally, clustered in this first week. The weeks follow, we get a few greens in here with a mixture of some reds, and then we have the holiday week, which kind of interrupts things a bit, and then we have more strength in the last week. So first week and fourth week are the strong weeks for sugar in June, and we have pretty high winning percentages here, up into the 90s in a lot of days up here. We have a 100% day down here, which should take special notice, and that is the specific date. So that means on June 24th. So for the last 20 June 24ths, we've had a perfect record, 16-0, and has made $6,000. And we also have a 95% day here, which is day left in the month. So if we go to our column here, day left in the month would be number 5. So the 5th trading day left in the month has been 21-1 over the last 22 years. So there's some good strength there as well for the sugar market for June. Next up, we will have a look at the gold market on the seasonal chart. And again, the reason we're doing gold instead of crude oil is because crude oil just doesn't correlate well to heat maps. And since we always do gold on our website with a heat map, we thought it'd be worthwhile just going over it because it is the second most bearish month of the year this June. And Junes have historically only finished higher than they've opened 38% of the time. And they have lost $18,000 over the course of this backtest for Junes. If we look at the seasonal indicator at the bottom, we see how June has this decline right here. Year after year, we see a decline coming into June. So if we look at the price itself, June comes in and we see it kind of goes sideways a bit and then a big drop a few years ago. Same thing, sideways and then a drop. This may have been more so into July than actually in June. And then last year we saw almost right away a decent drop in the price of gold. So what will we see this year? Let's have a look at the seasonal heat map and find out. The gold heat map correlates almost perfectly to the seasonal indicator we just showed, in that the beginning of the month is it's bearish, but not as bearish as the end of the month. We see a lot more bright reds down here at the bottom. Starting pretty much right after this holiday in the third week, we get a lot of bright reds all clustered here together. And gold's one of these markets where we don't get super high winning percentages in this back test. So therefore, we're happy with ones in the 70s and 80s. And that's where all these bright red ones are here in the 70s and 80s. And we have decent dollar amounts too. So bearishness in gold is time to start looking for that in June after the holiday in the third week. And as always, we cap things off with the S&P E-mini seasonal chart here. June is the 5th most bearish month of the year. So it's kind of in the middle, but it is more bearish than bullish. It has finished the month 55% of the time higher than it has opened and has only made just about $4,000. So since stock markets have traditionally had that upward drift in momentum, this is actually a pretty bad month. And looking at the indicator, we see that June has actually started off pretty well in these last few years, but then saw the decline coming later on in the month. And if we look at the price itself, a few years ago, we got a little bit of a decline here, but then it bounced right back and kept on its rally. A couple years ago, we saw it sideways and then a big drop off. Last year, we saw a rally. So we've seen a bit of everything the last 3 years. What to expect this year? Well, let's have a look at the seasonal heat map and see what it shows. The seasonal heat map for the S&P E-minis shows the bulk of the bearishness being right in the middle of the month. The beginning and the end both have some green days here, which is some bullish area. But right in the beginning of the second week, we have reds across the board. And then we have that again towards the end of the holiday week and the beginning of the last week of the month. We have some good numbers here, some high winning percentages, and some good dollar amounts. I want to specifically note here, starting on the Monday, we have a few bright red days in a row on the date. We have a 93% day, which is 14 out of 15 years. This has been correct. And we have high dollar values up here, especially on the Monday, 24,000, 21, 29,000. And then we get down here to the last week. We have some high winning percentages as well, a 91, a 90, an 88. And the dollar values aren't quite as high here at the end, but still very bearish right from the beginning of the third week right until towards the end of the last week of the month. Thanks for watching. Remember to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell so you're notified on our next videos. Simplexity Analytics, making complex trading simple.